Great, and congratulations for completing the second section. Now in this section we are going to cover the most important question of .NET interviews, and that is, what is the difference between abstract class and interface? Here is the list of 11 questions. Now sometimes after asking the differences, interviewer ask follow-up questions on this topic. Okay, so I tried to cover all those scenario based questions in this list. The more you know, the more confidently you can give the answer of these questions, right? The approximate duration of all these questions is just around 12 minutes. Now we are going to cover the most important question of any interview. In my experience, this is the most asked question in the interviews. What is the difference between an abstract class and an interface? At least 4. Why 4? Because this is a very important question and it is good to create a good impression on interviewer by telling as much as you can. So let's explore the differences one by one. First difference is abstract class contains both declaration and definition of methods. Let me show you the code. See, employee class has two methods, project and role. One is declared and another is defined with the body. On the other hand, interface should contain only declaration of methods. Let me show you the code. See, here we have two methods, project and manager 1, and both are just declared. There is no body of these methods. Now there is one very interesting point here. As per the latest versions of C#, now C# allows you to define the body of the interface methods also. So method body is possible in interfaces. But why Microsoft allowed definition or body for methods in the interfaces? The reason, suppose you have a very big project employee management system. Initially you created this iEmployee interface there with the declared method. But after 1 year you realize that this manager 1 is a concrete method now. Okay, its implementation is common. Now what to do? If you will change this interface to abstract class, then a lot of code change will be required in your big project, right? And that will lead to errors also. Therefore, Microsoft allowed method bodies inside the interfaces also. Then you can just define the method here. But remember, when you are creating the projects from scratch, never use method bodies inside interfaces. Interfaces are for declaration only. If method body is required, rather use abstract classes. That's why I have explained interface should contain declaration of methods only, right? That is the first difference. Second difference is quite obvious and easy. Abstract classes uses abstract keyword and interfaces uses interface keyword. Now, one very important difference is abstract class does not support multiple inheritance in C#, whereas interface support multiple inheritance. Okay, let me show you the same in code. See, when we are trying multiple inheritance via abstract class, then here at the bottom is this error. When we are deriving from multiple classes, employee and employee 1 in the derived class permanent employee, where if I show you the code, like it is giving error, right? It is showing the error, compile time error. But in case of interfaces, if I will show you, there is no error. It is working fine with multiple interfaces, iEmployee1 and iEmployee2. One last difference is abstract classes can have constructors. See, we have constructor employee1 in abstract class, but interfaces do not have constructors. See, employee1 constructor is giving error. It's a compile time error. It is not possible. So here is the summary list of all the differences which we have discussed. Please try to memorize at least 3 of them and one difference, because one difference is not sufficient in interviews. When to use interface and when abstract classes in real applications, real projects. First, let's check when to use interface. Suppose in your project you have two classes, permanent employee and contractual employee. Now you know both these kinds of employee will have some email ID and some manager, right? So you will create one interface iEmployee and just declare methods assign email and assign manager here. Later, you will inherit this iEmployee interface in both these permanent employee and contractual employee classes. Now, why interfaces are the right choice here? Because every employee must have some email ID or manager, so the declaration in employee interface is mandatory. But the implementation is not clear right now, right? The manager can be different, the email can be different. So, an interface is a good choice when you know a method has to be there in the class, but it can be implemented differently by independent derived classes. That's when we use interfaces. It acts like a contract. Next, we will see when to use abstract classes. When to use abstract classes and not interfaces. For example, with classes permanent employee and contractual employee, here we have an abstract base class employee dress, where dress code is an abstract method because that implementation we don't know right now, because it depends, dress code is depends whether employee is a male or female, implementation will differ, right? But this employee dress color method value will always be blue in any case, whether male or female. Therefore, we know the implementation, and that's why we defined the method body here. So when to use abstract class? Abstract class is a good choice when you are sure some methods are concrete or defined and must be implemented in the same way in all the derived classes. Now, one more thing here. Normally, we prefer interfaces because they gives us the flexibility to modify the behavior of methods at later stage. So, that's why we prefer interfaces. Why to create interfaces in real applications? Let's see the example first. Suppose we are creating an employee management system project, okay? In our project, we have two classes, permanent employee and contractual employee. Now we will create one interface iEmployee which will have only declaration of this method assign email. Now our basic question is why we are declaring it here. Anyway, we have to define this method in the classes, right? We are declaring them. The reason is to maintain the consistency. Otherwise, you will create assign email in permanent employee and some other developer will create set email or some other method name in contractual employee. Maybe both the methods are doing the same thing, but since their names are same, they are but they are different. Therefore, they will create the inconsistency, right? So here are some benefits of interfaces. Interfaces will help in defining the contract of the system and maintain the consistency. Second benefit is unit testing. It is easy for application to do unit tests if they have interfaces. Then interfaces are used for implementing dependency injection in .NET Core. Can we define body of interfaces methods? When to define methods in interfaces? So if you see this code of interface, here we can define a method inside an interface like this and no error will come, okay? So the answer is yes. From C# 8.0, it is possible to put method bodies inside interfaces. But why Microsoft allowed body for methods in interfaces? The reason is, suppose you have a project employee management system. Initially, you created this iEmployee interface with role method declaration only, okay? But after 1 year, you realized that this role method should be concrete method and you should define it now. Now, if you will convert this interface to a abstract class, then a lot of code change will be required, right? So that's why Microsoft allowed to add body for interfaces also. But remember, when you are creating the project from the scratch, use abstract classes if your method have bodies. Can you create an instance of an abstract class or an interface instance or object? Can you create? Yeah, this is a thinking question. Before answering these kind of questions, think, right? What is the purpose of abstract class and interface? And the answer is they both are for acting as the base classes, right? So here, if we have one base class like employee class and interface like iEmployee, and then when we try to create the object of both of them like this, then the .NET compiler will give build error, right? It is not possible. So the answer is no. Abstract class and interface purpose is to act as the base classes via inheritance. Their object or instance creation is not possible. Do interface can have a constructor? The answer is no. Interface can only be used for inheritance, so constructor is not required. See, when we are creating the constructor for interfaces like this, then it is saying interfaces cannot contain instance constructors. That is the answer. Do abstract class have constructors in C#? You will think abstract class is for inheritance and we cannot create its object, right? So the answer is no. We cannot have constructor in abstract class, but here is the twist. Yes, abstract class can have constructors. For example, we have this employee abstract class with constructor and we inherit this in the permanent employee class. Okay. Now when we create the object of the permanent employee class, derived class, first the constructor of the base class will be called. Then only the constructor of the derived class will be called. That's why we can have a constructor in the abstract class. And that's why we get the output which is written inside the base class constructor here. What is the difference between abstraction and abstract class? Abstraction means showing only required things and hiding the background details. I already explained this in previous videos. Abstract class is one of the ways to implement abstraction. Remember, it's not the only way, but one of the way. That's it. Short and simple difference. A scenario-based question. Can abstract class be sealed or static in C#? See the code here. We tried to mark abstract class as sealed and compiler is showing the error. So the answer is no. Abstract class are used for inheritance, but sealed and static both will not allow the class to be inherited. Therefore, it is not possible. Remember, always try to give reason in detail. Can you declare abstract methods as private in C#? Abstract methods means only declaration, no definition. And abstract methods must be implemented in derived classes. Okay, but if we make them private, then they cannot be accessible outside the base class, right? Then both things are opposite. If we try to do this, then here is the code and here is the compiler error. It is not possible. Therefore, the answer is no. Abstract methods are only declaration and they must be implemented in the derived class. Therefore, they cannot be private. We can create hundreds of scenarios based question like this. Does abstract class support multiple inheritance? See the code. To abstract class we try to inherit in derived class. Here at the bottom and the compiler error is showing. So the answer is no. Only maximum one abstract class can be used for inheritance, but multiple interfaces can be used, right? That is not exactly multiple inheritance, but an alternative way of it. I hope it's clear. Now is the practice time. I think mock interviews are the best way for practicing for the interviews. This is the first mock interview and similarly we have total 10 mock interviews. After completing all these mock interviews, you can attend any .NET interview with 100% confidence. Let's start with the first mock interview. In this interview, we will cover questions about main concepts of OOPs and questions on abstract class and interface differences. Now I am going to show you all the questions. Then you have to pause the video and check how many answers you know and think about the answers. Here are the questions. All are very important and frequently asked questions in interviews. If you are going to start giving interviews, then start from the basics learning first. You can pause the video here and then think about their answers. If you have completed the question, then great. And if you have any question, then ask me in the comment section. Let's move ahead. Congratulations for completing the last section. Now in this section, we are going to cover question about 3 different topics: access specifiers, boxing unboxing, and string builder. And here is the list of 10 questions from these topics. I also marked the very important questions which are frequently asked in the interviews. The approximate duration of all these questions is just around 10 minutes. What are access specifiers? Access specifiers are keywords to specify the accessibility of a class, method, property, field. The keywords are public, private, protected, internal, and protected internal. Now here is a table that tells where these keywords are accessible and where not. For example, if there is a public method in a class, then this public method is accessible at every level, inside the same class, inside the derived class, inside some other class, and inside derived class of some other assembly, right? Now do not worry, like if you don't know the assembly thing, that is basically the different project, and I will explain that in my upcoming video. Okay, for now we can focus on this green zone. So public is accessible at every level. Private method is accessible within the same class only, nowhere else. Okay, internal is accessible within the same assembly, same project. The protected is accessible within the same class and its child or derived class, right? Even if the derived class is in some another project or other assembly, even then the protected method will be accessible there. Then last, protected internal is a combination of protected and internal. You can see wherever internal is accessible, protected internal is also accessible. Also, wherever protected is accessible, there also protected internal is accessible. What is internal access modifier? Let's see the code first. Here we have one project with one internal class employee. Okay. Now in the solution, we will add one more and new console project. Okay. Now in the new project, we will add the reference of the first project like this. Okay. Now inside the program class of this new project, we will write the using statement to refer the first project. And then here we are creating the object of the employee class. If the employee class is public in first project, then we will get the employee class here. But right now the employee class is internal, and internal is not accessible outside the assembly, right? So it is showing error here, means it is inaccessible here. So as per the definition, internal modifier is used to tell that class method is a class or class method is limited to the current and same assembly. It will not be accessible to the other assembly. Assembly means project. Got it? Very short question here. What is the default access modifier in a class? Internal is the default access modifier of a class. What is boxing and unboxing? Here is the code. Here we have an integer num. Now integer is a value type. Then we are assigning this integer num to an object obj, and object is a reference type, right? So we are converting value to reference type. This is boxing. So boxing is the process of converting from value type to reference type. In C#, integer, bool, char, decimal, byte are value types, and string, array, class, object are reference type. Now what is unboxing then? Again, look at the same code. Here we are converting back the object obj back into integer. For that, we create one integer variable, and while assigning the object, we are explicitly writing int type here. So that is unboxing, which is just opposite of boxing. Where to use boxing and unboxing in real applications, in real projects? Here is the code. We are creating one array list and then adding the integer I into it. Now the array list do not store integers. It stores objects only. So internally this integer I variable will be first converted to object, and then it will be added in the array list. Although we have done this but many times, like we have done this many times, but we might not know that we are doing boxing here. Then when we are extracting the items from the array list, then again we have to do unboxing to extract the object from array list and convert that into integer. The same thing I have written here. I hope now you understand the use of boxing and unboxing in your applications and projects. Which one is explicit, boxing or unboxing? Now if you look at the code of boxing and unboxing, we do not have to write anything or any type while doing boxing, okay? But when we do unboxing, then we have to write or provide the type here also. That means we have to explicitly provide the type for unboxing. The answer is unboxing in S is an explicit conversion. Is boxing and unboxing good for performance? This can be a follow-up question after what is boxing and unboxing. And if you use boxing and unboxing, for example, in your array list, then this here integer to object conversion and object to integer conversion, that is not really good for performance. That will slow down your process, okay? So the answer is no. It is not recommended to use boxing and unboxing. But yes, when it is necessary, then you have to do it, okay? Now, if the better idea is to use generic list, okay? Otherwise, that I will explain in the further videos. What are the basic string operations in C#? Let's go through them quickly. First is concatenate. Two strings can be concatenated either by using the concat method or the plus operator. See, here is the code and the output. Second is replace function. It is used to replace a string with another string. See, replace method will replace 1 with 2 in the string, and then this is the final output. Another important function is trim. Trim is used to trim the white spaces from the end of the string. Here is the example. Another contains. Contains methods check if a string contains a pattern of a string or not. In the example, if a string contains test, which it is, right, then it will return true. That's all about some of the important methods of a string. Here is a very good question about strings. What is the difference between a string and a StringBuilder? When to use what? Let's see the example first. Here we have one string str1, and then we are manipulating str1 and adding some more string to it, right? Now from outside it looks like str1 is the same variable and only the value has been changed. But here is the catch. First str1 was a different string and this new str1 is a completely different string in memory. So both these strings are different and occupy different memories in memory, okay? So basically this is immutable. Immutable means a thing which cannot be changed after it is created. So when we try to change this string, it is not changed. Instead, it is creating a new string, right? So the short answer is string is immutable in C#. Okay. Now every time you will assign some value to a string, it is basically creating the new string. Now let's see the StringBuilder. So here is the example. See here, str2 is a StringBuilder object. Now if I will append some value in it, then in the memory no new string will be created. Rather, only the first value, the first string is updated, modified, the same string. So we have only one string in the memory and we can keep changing it with the help of the StringBuilder. So the short answer is StringBuilder is mutable in C#. That means if any manipulation will be done on the string, then it will not create a new instance every time. I hope now the difference is clear. When to use a string and when StringBuilder in real applications. Here is the code of the string and here is the code of the StringBuilder. The answer is, if you want to change a string multiple times, then a StringBuilder is the better option from performance point of view, because it will not create the new string every time, and like in the memory also there will be only one string. The same string will be updated. But if you have a string which is updated only once or twice, then you should prefer a string only, because a string is lightweight as comparison to a StringBuilder class, which is quite heavy. What is string interpolation in C#? Here you can see some code. We defined a string variable and then we are concatenating with another string like this, and then we are printing this. Both these statements will give the same output, okay? Now we have a new way to do the same thing, and this is via string interpolation like this. Here we will use the $sign before the double quotes, and inside the double quotes we will put the string, and variable string we will put inside the curly braces. Like I put the same inside the curly braces here. Again the output is same. But the benefit of this string interpolation is it is less in code as comparison to other. Especially if you have multiple variables, then it is more effective. And the definition is string interpolation is a technique that enables you to insert expression values into strings.